So ChorePad is the app, and it was an idea our guidance counselor had a couple of years ago when we were just dabbling with check-in, check-out. It's more fun for kids to, when they click on the app, there's a lot of sparkly noises, and they have check marks and trophies and things like that, so they get a lot of immediate fun things when they go through check-in and check-out at the end of the day. It's fairly easy to set up. The screenshots I gave you pretty much shows you what you'd have to work with. Setting up a student is pretty quick. I can get a student up and running in about 5 minutes. When I do an interview with the kid to get when they start check-in, check-out, take their picture, walk them through the app. You set up the rewards ahead of time, and the way we do it, the rewards are the same for everyone unless the student has different needs, and we'll tweak it. The tasks or the chores, I guess, for the app are the same for our students unless, again, we need to make a tweak. So once you plug in the chores and the rewards, it's just a matter of setting the student up, assigning those tasks to the student, and they're off and running. So every morning they go in, and they'll, like I said, if they checked in on time, they get some points for that. If they check out on time, they get points for that as well. If they meet their goal, and just as they gather stars, that's the currency in ChorePad, they can cash those stars in for different rewards, like recess with a friend, 20 minutes at the end of the day in the gym, a popcorn party with their class. The bigger the reward, the harder it is, the more points you need to get that reward. So you have to calibrate how many points they get per day with the rewards that are available to students, if all that made sense.
Mm-hmm. So do you use a regular check-in, check-out form, and then do they get like a point for every, score of 2, or how does that work if they get 80%?
Yep. Very good question. We do. We have a DPR that we use, and we gathered those DPRs and put them into the PBIS check-in, check-out app. So that piece, we're gathering data, and we're using the scorecard.
Sorry, Brian, you just faded out.
Can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
That's better.
We do use a scorecard, and we do input that data into the PBIS check-in, check-out app. So that piece we do use. The scorecard, I have the scorecard set up so the kids know what the total amount they could have each day. It's at the bottom of their DPR, 60 points for us.
Okay.
So they get being safe, respectful, and responsible for each class period. And then what 80% of that would be, which for most kids it's at least 48 points. So they know once they add up their points whether they got 80% or not, and then they'll check. To make it simpler, ChorePad is more for them to see, so they get that day-to-day input on, are they meeting their goal? Are they, they having a perfect day? Are they checking in and out on time? And then we get that period-by-period behavior data that we can use for the check-in, check-out app and for our decision-making here.
Who enters the star? Who enters the points? The teacher or the student?
For the ChorePad app, the students do, with a greeter right there to help.
Okay. So what keeps a student from entering a whole bunch of stars for themselves?
Well, we have the greeter right there. So we have up to 5 students working with a greeter at a time, and the students come in one at a time working with that greeter. And when I interview the student and kind of introduce them to check-in, check-out, and what they'll be doing, I'm pretty frank with them about being honest, and I show them how we can take unchecked things if things are checked when they're not supposed to, and that we're relying on them to work with us and be honest about what they're doing. But there's an adult right there as they do that process, so it'd be pretty hard for them to add check marks if they didn't earn them.
And what grade level is your school? How high up do you use this with?
Here at my school is grades 3, 4, and 5. We are using it down at another elementary school. It's a 1-2 school, grades 1 and 2.
Okay.
Lori, he has a couple more slides. If you want, he can explain each slide.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so this is the slide I see is the reward slide. This is I just gave you a screenshot as the settings slide. It's fairly simple to work with. Those are your settings right there, not too difficult.
Welcome, Sarah. We're just looking at ShorePad, which is something that Brian shared at our last webinar.
This slide, this would be what a student would look at, and if you were a greeter, you would have more card. It looks like a card. Right? Each student had their own card that they would click on. I only had it set up for one sample student. So a student would find their name, and I would also have their picture in there as well, and they would click on it to open up the screen that they would work in.
Okay.
This would be what the student would see if they wanted to see what their payouts would be. You can see some of the check marks that Mr. Sample Student has had so far. And they have 56 stars so far, or points. None of the payouts are lit up yet so that they can, so indoor recess with a friend. They would have to have at least 75 points or stars to get that. Once they have over 75, if they would like to do that, what's nice is they just click on that, and then the points adjust accordingly. So you don't have to do any bookkeeping. It's just done for you inside the app.
Mm-hmm.
This is the way it would look like when you're creating a chore. So you click on Create, punch in whatever you want students to do. So these are some of the basic things we want students to do every day. Set the days of the week, assign a point value to them. Again, you have to do some calibration depending on what you want students to work toward. Yeah, that works pretty easily. On the bottom, it says Create, and then there's another little button that says Assign. You would click on Assign, and that's where you would match up a student with the task that you want to do. This is what the there's a padlock in the upper left-hand corner. When you click on that, it unlocks, and that's where you have some settings that the teacher could use or the greeter to add tasks or add rewards or take things off or add new students. So the student doesn't see the information on the bottom when that padlock is locked. They just see the cards, and yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. They click on their face and away they go.
And so these are the controls for the adults so that they can change the star value or...
Right, yep. You can tailor it to fit whatever you need in this using this screen to start with.